She vanished from your life, yet you can feel her presence everywhere. You open your phone and there's no message from her, yet somehow she's still there, watching, waiting, silent. And here's the truth Albert Camus would whisper to you. Silence is never just silence. It's an act. It's a statement. It's the unspoken that speaks the loudest. In the absurd theater of human connection, silence is not emptiness. It's pressure. And when a woman who once had access to your soul suddenly withdraws her voice, it's never without reason. Camus wrote that the absurd is born of this confrontation between the human need and the unreasonable silence of the world. You, right now, are living in that confrontation. You want answers. She gives you nothing, and that nothing is everything. But here's the twist. In her quiet, she isn't gone. She's still watching, still thinking, still feeling. She just doesn't want you to know. Today, we break down the real reason she's silent. The psychology behind the absence, the games, the fears, the regrets. We'll tear away the mask of her silence, layer by layer, until there's nothing left but truth. Camus understood that human beings can't resist looking back at the things they claim to have left behind. When she walked away, she thought she was choosing freedom. She thought ignoring you would erase you. But here's where the paradox begins. The act of leaving often ties you closer than staying ever could. She's still watching you because the mind has an instinct to check the status of what it's trying to forget. It's the same pull that makes you glance in the rearview mirror after you've decided never to look back. The human brain is wired to maintain a connection to unfinished stories. And your story with her? It didn't end cleanly. It ended in silence, the most open-ended ending of all. Her quiet is not an absence of thought about you. It's a cover. Camus believed that people often live as if the absurd doesn't exist, hiding from the uncomfortable truth. In her case, the uncomfortable truth is this. She still cares. Maybe not in the way she used to, but enough to keep you in her field of vision. She might watch your stories on social media. She might linger over a mutual friend's post to see if your name is in the comments. She might even accidentally like an old photo, then panic and undo it. But she'll never admit this, because her silence isn't about you knowing she's there. It's about her protecting her pride while still feeding her curiosity. In Camus' world, rebellion isn't always loud. Sometimes it's quiet, calculated, and disguised as nothing at all. Her silence is her rebellion against whatever version of you she wants to resist, the one who could still pull her back in. By refusing to speak, she controls the terms of your interaction. If she talks, she risks exposure, showing you she still thinks of you, showing you she's still affected. Silence lets her pretend she's above it, even when she's not. It's her way of holding the high ground, at least in her mind. But here's the irony Camus would appreciate. In trying so hard to control the story, she's revealing exactly what she doesn't want to reveal. Silence is not neutral. It's heavy with implication. It invites speculation. It forces the other person to fill in the gaps. And the more you try to guess what's behind it, the more power she feels. Her watching is strategic. She wants to see if you've changed, if you've moved on, if you're suffering or thriving without her. Every post you make is data for her, evidence she can interpret to feed either her ego or her regret. And here's the part she doesn't understand. In Camus' philosophy, True freedom comes from accepting the absurd, embracing the fact that she may watch forever, and you may never know exactly why. So while she's silent, she's actually locked in her own prison of observation. Watching you keeps you alive in her mind, and the more she watches, the more she fails to truly move on. If you want, I can now continue parts 3 to 7 plus the ending in the same tone, so the whole script becomes fully ready for your video. This will keep the same Camus-inspired psychology, build suspense, and maximize audience retention. Do you want me to move ahead with that? She's still watching you. Here's why she's silent, in the same mysterious, psychologically sharp tone. Camus believed that to live authentically, one must face the truth without illusion, but most people run from it. That's what she's doing. Every time she sees you, even from a distance, she sees a mirror she can't escape. Why? Because your existence reminds her of who she was when she was with you. The laughter, the arguments, the nights you stayed up too late talking about nothing and everything. Those memories are coded into her, whether she likes it or not. When she watches you silently, she's not just looking at you. She's looking at her own reflection in your life. She's measuring her current reality against what she used to have. And here's the dangerous part. If you've grown, improved, and become stronger without her, that mirror becomes harder for her to face. Camus wrote that man is the only creature who refuses to be what he is. In her case, she refuses to admit that losing you has left a mark. That's why she stays silent, because admitting anything would mean admitting she still feels something. She might tell her friends she's over it. She might even convince herself for weeks at a time. But the very act of keeping you on her radar betrays the truth. She hasn't fully let go. And the more she watches, the more she keeps that door cracked open in her mind. In the philosophy of the absurd, Camus taught that life often refuses to give us the answers we demand, and that people often search anyway, even knowing it's futile. That's her right now. Her curiosity about you is absurd in the truest sense. She doesn't want to be with you, yet she needs to know what you're doing. She doesn't want to break the silence, yet she can't stop listening for the echo of your life. She's still watching because she's caught between two instincts. Protect her ego by staying silent. Satisfy her need to know how you've changed. This tug of war keeps her stuck in a cycle she can't escape. She'll convince herself she's just checking in out of boredom or just curious because she has a free moment. But deep down, it's not boredom. It's unfinished business. And here's the cruel part. Every time she sees you doing better, laughing more, or moving forward without her, a seed of regret plants itself. Camus would say this is her punishment, to witness in silence the life she no longer has access to. Her curiosity is not harmless. It's dangerous for her peace of mind, because no matter how much she pretends otherwise, what she sees will shape how she feels. And once she feels too much, the silence becomes heavier. Camus was fascinated by the ways humans invent meaning to feel in control. Her silence is exactly that. An invented meaning, a way to pretend she's the one dictating the rules of this cold war between you. She believes that by withholding her words, she keeps you wondering. She thinks her absence is a mystery you're desperate to solve, and maybe for a while it worked. Maybe in the early days, you did wonder why she disappeared. Maybe you searched for clues. But here's what she doesn't understand. Silence only works as a weapon if the other person is still playing the game. If you've embraced the absurd, if you've accepted that you may never get an explanation, then her silence loses its edge. The moment you stop reacting, she loses the control she thought she had. Camus would remind you that true freedom comes when you stop needing the world or any one person to answer you. When you accept the void for what it is, you're no longer its prisoner. Meanwhile, she's still in chains. She can't speak, because that would break the image she's built. She can't stop watching, because that would mean she's truly moved on. So she's stuck in limbo, a silent observer of a life she's no longer living. And in that limbo, every improvement you make, every new chapter you write without her, becomes a silent reminder that the game she thought she was winning might already be lost. If you want, I can now move on to parts 6, 7, and the ending, where we close the loop with a Camus-inspired, high-impact conclusion that keeps viewers watching until the last second. Do you want me to finish it now? All right, here's the final section for your Albert Camus-inspired video, She's Still Watching You. Here's why she's silent in your Stoic psycho style. Camus wrote that, "Blessed are the hearts that can bend, they shall never be broken." But bending requires humility, and hers is in short supply. If she admitted regret, she'd have to admit that she misjudged you, that leaving, ignoring, or staying silent didn't bring her the victory she imagined. So she stays quiet and watches. Not because she doesn't feel, but because she feels too much. And admitting that would require vulnerability she isn't ready to give you. Regret doesn't always arrive in dramatic scenes or tearful apologies. Sometimes it arrives slowly in the quiet hours of the night, when her mind replays the choices she may